Fortune magazine indicates that Don Imus is getting ready to sue CBS for the $40 million apparently left on his contract. That contract is reported to include a clause that encouraged him to be controversial, said basically he's a shock jock, and said if he ever crossed that line, whatever that line is, he'd get a warning before getting canned. And you know, in our sort of contract world here inside your television box, we call it the dog gets one bite. So the dog gets to bite somebody before you euthanize it. He bit and got euthanized without a warning. Does he have a case? Joining us now in Studio B is Josh Hanshaft, prosecutor from Brooklyn, and in our New York newsroom is Andrew Smiley, a defense attorney. Andrew, if you're defending this guy, actually, I suppose that would be, I'm not really sure. Josh, why don't you play the part of the person who is being sued? Why don't you do that? What do you think? Okay. I mean, if you're CBS, do you owe him money?
I think CBS, great claim. I mean, you know, they have a great defense here. They're not going to pay him a dime because you know what? You just said
they're not going to pay him a dime?
Well, there may be a settlement, but you know what their fight is? Their fight is the fact of, listen, it's a controversial statements. How are you going to define controversial statements? So that's what's going to be the issue. They're going to say, you know what, and you're not going to find any judge or any jury to sit there and go, the statements that he made fall protected. That was the spirit of the contract, that, you know what, we'll protect him if he says anything like nappy-headed hose. That's not going to be accepted, and it's not going to be accepted, and CBS has a great fight.
Andrew, I wonder about that, because if the contract is, I mean, this is Don Imus. Don Imus signed this contract less than a year ago with everybody involved knowing who Don Imus is, what Don Imus does, and then they spelled it out. He's a shock jock. He's supposed to be controversial. That's his job. And we went so far as to say, if we're going to can your butt, we're going to warn you first.
That's right. I see this as a slam dunk case, and if he didn't already have a top-notch attorney, I'd love to personally be representing him. They hired him knowing that he offends people, that he's controversial, and they know that he brought in tons and tons of listeners, made tens of millions of dollars a year for the network, and that's why they agreed to sign him up, to put him on a contract for 5 years for $50 million, and then they go ahead and fire him for doing exactly what they hired him to do. He made a controversial statement about the Rutgers basketball team, and they fired him, and it's outrageous that they did it.
But that's not controversial. That's not the controversial statement. It's when people use this term, it's over the line. It's easy to see that's over the line. Controversial is something, an opinion.
Yeah,
everything he said is over the line.
And you know what? It really is. He says a lot of things over the line, but not something that's disparaging, something that was intended to hurt somebody. That's not what was meant to be.
But Hanny J, what if the Brooklyn DA said to you, you get to screw up in court. You get to lose one case. And the next time, we're going to warn you, and the next time you lose, we're going to fire you. Isn't that, in essence, what CBS said here?
And that's another issue, and another issue where they're going to say, no, that's a warning. You think this guy didn't get some warning before? You think you can't go into a court and say, when we walked in there and told you, you shouldn't have said that, that was our warning.
I tell you how my agent would play it, Josh, and Andrew, you tell me, but my agent would play it like this. Fox, when we said a warning means a written, hand me a warning, you've been warned. Just like being served a summons, you're warned.
That's right.
Warning is done. Next time, you're done.
But that's right. Not only did they not give him a warning, but what he said was no different than what he said every day for the last 30 years. This is what he does, and getting fired for it was a political decision made by CBS. They said, listen, we're getting pressure, we're going to fire him. But you know what? They've got deep pockets. That's why they signed him to a big contract, and now they're going to have to dig into those deep pockets, sign a check, and pay this man what he's owed, like anybody else that gets hired to do a job for a period of time. He's entitled to be paid for the work that he contracted for.
I'd be willing to bet the mortgage, and tell me if either one of you disagree with this. The suit will come about. One side and the other side will sign an agreement, undisclosed details, and off they'll go into the wild blue yonder, and Don Imus will work for someone else, and CBS will wish they had him back.
I'm not going to argue with you. Go ahead, because I agree there's going to be a settlement here somewhere. There's going to be some money written, but you know what? It's going to be a fight of what the meaning of those words are.
I disagree. I think there's going to be a settlement, and I think it's going to be publicized. He's going to get what he's owed. Yep, I think he's going to get what he's owed, and he's known to be a very charitable man, and he's probably going to give a good chunk of it to charity just to stick it in CBS's face.
Right.
That's what I think.
We'll find out, I'm sure, when
That'd be a pretty good move.
Yeah, actually give anything to charity, but you know what? He's going to be back on the radio. We're going to hear all about it, and I bet she's not going to end up getting what he's owed.
And don't be sending emails saying we're forgiving nappy-headed hoes. We're not. Talking contracts here. Hanshaft.
Exactly.
Smiley. Please do.